Thank you also so much, Dr. Anand and his wife and your whole team, and actually all of you, for having me as your guest of honor. But actually, it is my honor to be speaking to you today about one of my favorite topics ever, India. I can imagine that right now you might be a little bit puzzled what a foreigner can tell you about India that you don't already know as Indians. Can we do just a little experiment? I would like to ask you to please look at your right hand. What is the shape of your nails? Is it almond shaped? Is it round? Is it square? And what about the length of your fingers? Are they proportional to your hand? Are they longer? Are they shorter? See, this has always been your hand. This will always be your hand. But have you ever looked at it like this before I asked you these questions? So that's just a small demonstration of how today I want to deep dive with you into what I believe is one of the biggest assets that India has. I also believe it is one of the biggest lessons India can teach the world. The importance of family and strong community values. Before I do that, let me properly introduce myself. I just had an introduction, but I just wanted to tell you something a little bit about my background. Namaskara. My name is Ivana. I am a Serbian-born, Netherlands-grown, and currently India's own online content creator and international business consultant. I have traveled all around the world and made more than 1,000 videos, which resulted in currently more than 190,000 people following me across my social media. I get to call 3 countries in the world my home, but there's only one that makes me feel homesick every time I leave for more than 2 weeks. I have been fascinated with India ever since I was 15 and saw this beautiful movie called Devdas. When I first set foot on Indian soil back in 2015, somehow a lot of things felt normal. Things made sense. And maybe that's because our countries, my birth country and India, share quite some similarities. See, nowadays, you may know my birth country as Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia. But back when I was born, it used to be one country. Just like India, former Yugoslavia was conquered quite some times, which resulted in a very diverse population with a lot of different religions living in the same country. This country had one very firm leader, Josip Broz Tito. If the name sounds familiar, you're right. There's a street in Delhi named after him. But there's also a street back in my birth city, Belgrade, named after the first Indian Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehruji. Tito and Jawaharlal Nehruji used to be friends. And together with President Nasser from Egypt, they led the non-alliance movement back in the 60s. The non-alliance movement was a forum of 120 countries, developing world countries, who were not formally aligned with or against any major power bloc. Unfortunately, our countries also share some similarities in heartbreaking events. When Tito passed away, it caused a major power vacuum with a lot of parties vying for power. A massive civil war broke out in the Balkan at the beginning of the 90s. Suddenly, people who considered each other like family, just by being neighbors, didn't even want to live in the same country anymore. My parents, overnight, became a mixed marriage. My mom became Serbian, my dad became Bosnian. My brother and me were suddenly mixed blood, whatever that means. All 4 of our lives were in serious danger, so my parents made a difficult decision to leave everything behind and depart on a long and very risky journey to the Netherlands. The Netherlands took us in as refugees, and through naturalization, we gained Dutch nationality. I'm going to fast forward to today, 9th of November 2019, and I am a guest resident of your beautiful country, India. Now, you might be puzzled why I left the Netherlands, which just recently came in 5th of the happiest countries in the world to live in. So why am I in India? Well, the living standards in the Netherlands are indeed very high. My parents have a fantastic life. Just recently, my dad retired, and they went on this amazing road trip through the Balkan, through all the countries that they had known as one in their youth. My brother also got some amazing opportunities, which resulted in him starting his own company in Hong Kong. However, while growing up in the Netherlands, I missed one thing very dearly. When we left former Yugoslavia because of the war, we also left our grandmothers, our grandfathers, my aunts, uncles, my cousins. My brother and me never had a grandmother to hug us for our birthday. When my friends used to go on large family vacations, I used to envy them. Growing up with extended family is one of the most underrated blessings a person can have. Indians understand this like no other, not just by calling each other Didi, Bhai, Auntie, Uncle, even when you're not related. See, I know as a South Indian you may dislike North Indians and the other way around. At the same time, as somebody from Tamil Nadu, you might have an issue with somebody from Karnataka. But I promise you, the moment you move abroad, all those differences disappear. My friend Ashna is an incredible example of that. She, as a true Mumbaiker, always used to say, I don't like Delhi people. Delhi people are weird and I don't want to be friends with them. Until she moved to Canada. Suddenly, Ashna found out that she had a lot more in common with Delhi people than any other people around her. Nowadays, some of Ashna's best friends are from Delhi. There are many things that I love about India. One that might surprise you actually is the hot weather. I absolutely love the hot weather. Also, one day you will run out of paneer because I will eat it all. But the way Indians, in their core, connect to one another is a true national treasure. I came to India missing a family while growing up. And I found a country where at the end of the day, the whole nation considers each other like family. The patience, the empathy, and the generosity that Indians show each other is something that inspires me every day and teaches me how to be a better human being. Another story that I would love to share with you today is about my friend Ahmed, who is a perfect example of this. Ahmed has 3 ice cream shops here in Bengaluru. He employs 40 people and he's very passionate about his business. He had an ace employee, Tenzin, who was not performing so well recently. He was messing up at work and he was being rude to customers. So when my friend Tanya from the Netherlands came to visit us, she also has her own business, Ahmed asked us for advice. He did know that back in Northeast India, Tenzin's mom was in the hospital. I'm going to give you 2 options for which will describe the advice that Tanya and me gave to Ahmed. And I'm going to ask you to choose which option you think Tanya and me gave to Ahmed as advice. Option A is Tanya and me told Ahmed to warn Tenzin, and if he wouldn't improve, to fire him. Option number B is going to be, we told him to find a temporary different solution for Tenzin until this would pass with his mother. So, can you please raise your hand if you think we gave option number A as advice? Unfortunately, I am embarrassed that we gave option number A as advice. Tanya and me, we come from the Netherlands. And as many Western cultures, you are supposed to keep your private life separated from your professional life. So if there are things going on in your private life, you should not bring it to work. We're very harsh about this. But my friend Ahmed taught Tanya and me a very, very important lesson that day. He told us, no, you can't do that to another human being. And he challenged us to come up with a different solution. Tanya came up with the idea to put Tenzin in the kitchen temporarily where he wouldn't be customer facing anymore, and also he would be able to work with his hands, so that might relieve some of his stress because it distracts him. Well, I am very happy to report today, Tenzin again is an ace employee, and Ahmed never even thought about firing him. If this is the big heart that Indians have on a micro level, what would happen if this spills over to the global stage? Currently, India is rising as a superpower. Now already, India came in 4th in the list of most unicorn companies in the world. The US has 200, China has 99, the UK has 21, and India has 20. Who here thinks India is just getting warmed up? Good. To illustrate this a little bit more, out of a nation of 1.3 billion people, only 500 million have access to internet. It's clear as day we're not going back. So the potential of the second largest domestic market in the world is absolutely mind-boggling. The West sees this too. This year already, YouTube CEO Susan announced that India would be becoming their #1 market. Walmart bought Flipkart. And just recently, the Netherlands royals, King Willem-Alexander and Queen Maxima, visited India. Now, aside from humanitarian reasons, I can vouch that the Netherlands is primarily a business-oriented nation. The Netherlands wants to do business with India, and I couldn't be more happy about it. One thing that worries me, though, is the messaging that is going to come India's way. Help is being offered, but at what cost? See, there's no such thing as a free lunch in the West. In the US right now, school children even have school lunch debts. Yeah, that's a thing apparently. In India, however, free lunch almost comes complimentary with your tourist visa. At this moment, India is doing an incredible job of protecting the domestic market. It was not easy for me as a foreigner to register my company here in India. And I'm actually happy about that. The people who should benefit the most of the second largest domestic market in the world should be Indians themselves. You gave birth to a nation of which currently 60% is under the age of 35. They're educated, they're very eager, and they work hard. However, I do think they're going to need the help of their elders to make the most out of this gift that was given to them. And let's prevent mistakes made in the past. I have to be diplomatic about this, but I also don't think it's a secret that the superiority sense of the West has led them to market their way of life as the best. And in that process, destroyed cultures of nations who decided to adopt that lifestyle as well. Sometimes, to be honest, it's a lot more aggressive than just marketing that lifestyle. When NATO was negotiating a peace treaty between Kosovo and Serbia, they actually included a clause which made it mandatory for Kosovo to adopt a free market economy. Now, mind you, they bombed my birth city, Belgrade, out of humanitarian reasons. A free market economy is not necessarily part of that. However, an individualistic society is very much favored as part of a free market economy. See, it makes a lot more sense as a business to sell products to individuals than to communities who might reuse them or share them. From a business perspective, there's nothing wrong with this. From a humanity perspective, however, slowly disintegrating communities by promoting individuality as a holy grail might lead to a potentially very grim future. That holy grail makes it possible for people to put their individual needs above their social relationships. One story that I also would like to share with you about this, all stories, by the way, are real. I just changed the names to protect the privacy of the people. Jan, the journalist, was friends with Peter, the CEO. Jan was working for a national newspaper, and Peter was the CEO of a large company. One night, as is common with friends, they got drunk. And Peter, the CEO, opened up to Jan, the journalist, about a massive announcement that his company was going to make in a few days. He also begged Jan, the journalist, to please not publish this until the announcement was made, but he just needed to get it off his chest. Jan, the journalist, promised him that he wouldn't do anything with it. The next day, it was in a newspaper with Jan's name underneath it. When Peter, the CEO, asked him, "How could you do this to me? I thought we were friends." Jan answered him, "This was a massive opportunity for my career, and you should have known better as a CEO that nothing is off the record with a journalist." The choice that Jan made put his individual needs over his social relationship. It actually goes against our core human needs. We are social animals. A person cast away on a deserted island loses his mind. We need our communities and our families to thrive. By now, the West has also very much proven how this works out in an effect. Depression and loneliness are absolutely epidemics that are currently crippling the West. Loneliness is actually becoming a cause of death. So, as India rises on the global stage as a superpower, what will this mean for your families and communities? Because that global stage is dominated by individual cultures. Divide and conquer is a strategy used many times throughout history. The falling apart of my birth country, former Yugoslavia, is proof of that. But I know as Indians, you have plenty of experience with this as well. So how is India going to face this challenge? Well, you have a nation of 1.3 billion people, of which I know many are definitely smarter than me. But if I can just pitch in, having grown up without a family because my birth country fell apart, and getting to call 3 countries in the world my home, maybe I have a perspective worth considering. The challenge that India is going to face is a challenge already faced by China. Regardless of our sentiment of China from a humanitarian perspective, I think we can definitely conclude that they are coming out victorious on the world stage from an economic perspective. My subjective theory, fully based on my own observations, is this is because China has a mantra. which they communicate to their own people, but also to the outside world. The mantra of China is, they need us. The world needs us more than we need them. I would love for India and Indians to adopt this mantra as well. Remaining loyal to your heritage and protecting your identity with the second largest domestic market in the world is going to be a key strategy for growth in the future. See, China can only keep saying the world needs us more than we need them as long as they have a domestic market large enough to sustain their own economy. The moment that market falls apart, China risks losing their status as a superpower. The same goes for India. A focus on the domestic market while protecting the families and the communities is going to give you an advantage in the future. So right now, I know it may be very tempting to accept help to spur India's growth. However, please realize that help might come with a price. In contrast to the story that I told about Jan and Peter, I would like to tell another story, and this is the last story. My friend Jatinder worked in a large company as a manager. He had a group of people from Bengal working for him. One of these employees, Aditya, was coming in very late every single day, and it was annoying Jatinder so much. But when I asked him, like, why don't you just warn him or fire him, he looked at me in shock. He said, I need to explain something to you about Indian employees. Apparently, when a group of Indians who is from the same state come together in a company in a different state, they're extremely protective about each other. So if Jatinder would just warn Aditya about him coming late, the next day, the whole group of Bengalis would come in late. If Jatinder would fire Aditya, the whole group of Bengalis wouldn't show up to work, completely paralyzing his whole department. I was actually smiling while hearing this story because, to be honest, I would much rather live in a society where people have each other's backs. As we're nearing the end of this talk, I would like to share 3 key principles with you, which I think are going to help make choices while India is rising as a superpower. And I know it might be ironic because there's a foreigner here standing on stage, but again, it might be worth considering. So the first key principle, I think, should be only Indians know how to take care of Indians. Somebody from a different culture, and I think I have proven that more than enough, advising you on how to treat your employees, how to treat your students, or which life choices to make, makes just as much sense as somebody who doesn't know how to cook Indian food telling your mom how to make her dal. I think we all know how your mom would feel about that dal, but also how you and I would feel about that dal. Please take care of each other. The second key principle would be choose your role models wisely. Steve Jobs was absolutely brilliant in the technology sector, but he was not that brilliant as a father, and he was also not that brilliant to his employees. Indra Nooyi, however, led the global PepsiCo with more than 250,000 employees, and she still took care of her family. My friend Ahmed is an amazing example of an amazing role model on a micro level. In a nation of 1.3 billion people, you don't have to look far to find people to look up to, which fit the Indian context well. And for the last key principle, I would like to do another small experiment with you. Can you please fold the fingers of your right hand in a fist? See, even before your conscious mind registered it, an electric signal was sent to your hand and to your eyes. Your actions follow your thoughts. Believe that India should be built by Indians, and you are already contributing to that future. Milkha Singh believed that he deserved that gold medal, and his legs ran him to it. I would like to end this talk with a very personal wish. As India is rising as a superpower, there is a much deeper meaning to the world needs India more than India needs the world. We as humanity are getting so disconnected, and me being a child of war obviously doesn't like seeing this in the world. If there's anybody, any nation that can teach family and community values again, it's Indians. So the next time growth happens on a global scale, I genuinely hope it won't be just from an economic perspective, but as humanity, as a collective. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.